Survivor's ready!
Direct from Hobart, it's time for you to hear those so-called experts from Survivor Oz talk about another reality show, despite the fact they always said they would only ever talk about Survivor. It's The Amazing Race Oz, and here's your host,
Noah Grove. Hello, people and puffins, and welcome to The Amazing Race Oz, Australia's only Amazing Race podcast. Back for another recap, talking about 2 episodes because we had bad organising last week and we couldn't get it together. But it kind of worked out because it was a non-elimination type, keep on racy typey thingy. So it didn't matter too much. But there is a lot to talk about. It was a very action-packed first part anyway. I don't know about the second half. So we'll jump straight into it and introduce the fellow Ozlet/whatever who are on the episode. First up, she is perhaps best known for being the Kristen in the phrase christening. It's Kristen.
Yo.
Kristen, brief thoughts. What did you think of the episode?
I just wanted to talk about the first episode because it was the best episode of the season, and I don't remember what happened in the other episode.
All right, we're in for a fun one. Second, he is perhaps best known for having the initials AC. It's Alec Culver. Welcome back.
Wow, you always come up with the most creative ways to introduce me.
What brief thoughts on the 2 episodes, Alec?
I feel these are 2 of the best episodes we've had in maybe a couple seasons, compared to just for how action-packed they were and how little the mistakes were that caused big problems and stuff like that. And so I thought they were very good episodes.
And next up, he is perhaps best known for making his debut on The Amazing Race Odds. It's Jordan Rose. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Noah. Good to be here first time.
And the same question, brief thoughts on the episode before we jump into it.
Well, first of all, to paraphrase the track stars, I don't know what country I'm in, but I know I'm in North America. And yeah, it was 2 good episodes. I like both of them. Non-elimination. It was a little confusing because what was it? A keep on racing leg, or is it 2 separate legs? And it was a really weird spot for the U-turn also.
We'll jump into that.
Yeah.
And finally, perhaps best known for being the only Rosie Carver fan in the world, it's Colin Hilding. Colin, welcome back.
I hope I'm not the only Rosie Carver fan. I think that I'm the only person not a fan of this episode, though. Combined as maybe a double 2-hour episode if it had aired that way, which was maybe the way it was intended, I probably would have loved it. In 2 parts, I felt that a lot of the tension was out. I still do think it's the best we've seen this season, but didn't really like it as much as everybody else did. I'll give some of my complaints throughout this episode.
Well, I'm kind of with you partly. I didn't like the second one. I liked the first half. And I agree it would have worked quite well as a double episode, and perhaps they should have done that. But let's jump into it. Finally, we're out of South America. Hooray! And we're going to Zambia, the home of Victoria Falls, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, if you ask Wikipedia.
And Justin.
What was that?
And Justin.
Oh, and Justin, yeah.
Yeah, Justin and Diana, yeah.
They were told beforehand that there would be a U-turn on this leg, a double U-turn, and really that became the entire episode. So I think we should pretty much talk about that because that's what they were talking about for much of the episode. Then we'll jump into some of the challenges later. But yeah, so the Douche Pro team, dumbest Amazing Race team in the history of the show. We'll get our opinions on that, but I would put them up there. I was not impressed at all. So just to summarize, and we'll talk about this, but their plan was that they would use their express pass on the U-turn Justin and Diana, and give the express pass to a different team, and then a different team would U-turn the Douche Bro team, James and Tanner. Is that James and Tanner? Josh and Tanner. And then that would be that. Justin and Diana would go home, and then they would be happy. I don't even know where to start on that because it's such an idiotic plan to begin with, in my eyes. And then later on, they stuffed it up even more. But Colin, do you want to just give your brief thought? We're going to have a lot to talk about this, but I don't even know where to start with this horrible plan.
Yeah, I don't think it's as dumb as Hamilton and Michaela's use of the Express Pass in the Amazing Race Canada this past year, but it's right up there. Not to mention this incredible concoction they came up with to have everybody agree to U-turn a team this early in the race. Like, why are you even going to worry about eliminating somebody this early in the race? Like, for all they know, like, we're what? At this point, this is technically 3 episodes in. This could just be a team that crashes a week later and you're completely wasting it. It's just, everything about these guys is just jumping the gun. And it's very frustrating to watch because I do like Justin and Diana, but I'm finding this entire rivalry is just eating up all of the screen time for this season. And we're missing out on a lot of these other teams. And these guys, Tanner and Josh, they're just not that likable and their plan isn't that smart. And I think thankfully they realized it later on that, we kind of screwed up here with the Express Pass. We kind of screwed up and maybe misjudging them. But then they still said, we're probably still going to U-turn them later. Everything about this episode was focused on something that didn't happen. And that was part of the problem I had with this all the way when we got to the end. It's just the episode story, the one storyline we had this week just completely fell apart and never happened, which kind of made the whole episode meaningless to me.
It just blows my mind because, yeah, it would be good to get out a tough team, but then you don't have a frickin' Express Pass. Wouldn't it be better to do this plan on the next U-turn, which will probably be, I don't know, Final 6, Final 5 or something?
Or after the detour.
Yeah, just save your Express Pass because that's going to help you get ahead of Justin and Diana than doing this plan and then giving another team an Express Pass to let another team get, and it's not even a foolproof plan. There's so much that can go wrong, as we saw. Kristen, I saw you tweeting about this.
Didn't they have to use the Express Pass in the first few weeks? Or did I hear that wrong?
It was in the first 5 legs, yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of had to use it soon, to be fair to them. But, the plan was ridiculous, and they're my favorite team, because they are...
Wait, which one?
Tanner and... what's his name? Because they're comedy...
Really?
They're comedy gold. They're so dumb. They're so much fun to watch. They're so much fun to watch because they're so bad at everything, and I love it.
I would argue Logan and Chris, the exact same logic applies to them, and I don't think anybody's saying they're anybody's favorite team.
No, but they're not, really stupid and make really bad decisions on purpose.
Hello,
their
Tanner and
egos,
Josh, if you're listening.
Their egos are so big, and I'm obsessed with how they, think they have to be in first place every leg, or they're gonna die or something. So, it's not the worst idea to plan to have somebody U-turn you after you get there, but I just thought it was amusing that they were showing everybody being told that they used the Express Pass on the roadblock and not the detour. Is that accurate? Yeah. And every single team was like, wow, that was so dumb. Why would they do that? No one else had every single other team understood the logic of how this was supposed to work, and
even the cheerleaders, or maybe we'll get to that. Maybe we'll get to that.
Every team showed up, and they were like, "Why would they use it now?" And then they're just whining in the car. That would have been the easiest task. We could have done that so fast. I'm like, shut your mouth and sit down. And then my favorite part of the entire episode was when at the end when they're like, wow, Justin and Diana, they stuck to their promises and they didn't U-turn us, and it was really cool. That was the smart move. It's not like they were just being nice and not U-turning them because they made a promise. Justin and Diana were just being smart and not U-turning the team in second place. It was ridiculous and absurd, and I loved it.
I love that they used the Express Pass on a heights, on a challenge that requires no skill at all. Literally, you sit in the thing, And then, because it was a height challenge, they didn't want to do it. And then we saw the preview for next week, and we've got a height challenge. So that's going to be glorious to watch, I think. Yeah, well, basically, Kristen, you covered it that they used it on the roadblock rather than the U-turn, pretty much screwed up everything. Jordan, what was your take on pretty much the entire first half of the episode was based on this U-turn plan?
It was so convoluted. I mean, it didn't have to be so convoluted. Like, they could have, I mean, was this just a plan to decide who to give the express pass to? Just, you know, oh, whoever U-turns us, we'll give you the express pass. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And, like, they would have U-turned Justin and Diana, but then the team that U-turns us it didn't make any sense. Like, maybe if another team is first, like, say the reporters, like Kelsey and Joey, were in the first team to get to the U-turn. They U-turn Justin and Diana, and then Tanner and Josh get, give the express pass to them. That would be so much easier. But this plan was just so convoluted that it didn't make any sense, and just, I had trouble understanding it. It took them like 5 minutes to explain it, and I still didn't get it. So, yeah.
AC?
It was just so unnecessary.
Yeah. AC?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with Kristen on this one. The fact that they're just so much fun because they're so stupid. Like, they're this team, and I know we'll get to it later with the second episode and stuff like that, but they were like, oh, we can do better than this team on everything, and then they get destroyed, and they're like, we suck, and like they're so egotistical that they like beat themselves up over like the stupidest mistakes, and by far using the express pass on a roadblock that's not even that hard. Like, I can't remember which team it was. It might have been the reporters were like, a roadblock takes like 40 minutes. The like detour might take 10 minutes to an hour. Like, obviously using it on the detour is like a lot smarter and stuff. And it's just like, but yeah, the whole U-turn plan, it was actually a decent plan with very, very poor execution. Like, if they had actually went in there and like planned to use the express pass on the detour, it would have worked just fine. But they didn't, and that's why it didn't work at all, and that's why, it was this build-up that led to absolutely nothing. And I just feel it's way too early to focus so much on a team to get out, because then come next U-turn, who's the team that everybody else is going to target? Obviously the douchebags if Justin and Diana are gone. So, like, that's why.
And also, like, the team that is supposed to U-turn Tanner and Josh are asking that team to waste their U-turn to give the express pass to. Like,
that's a good point.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, because you've only got one U-turn on the race, so that is a good point.
Yeah.
So, I saw you were tweeting about this, Kristen, and someone responded to you saying, well, they're recruits, they don't know. But El Cole was a recruit, and he's one of the best winners of Survivor. I think this is where common sense prevails more than anything. Well, I guess we should continue talking about the U-turn while we're on it. Just the fact that then when they got to the backpackers, that they had certain leaving times just made it all the more hilarious that this plan just keeps going on and keeps getting wrong, and then Justin and Diana are equal with them. And then we get to the U-turn is at the mat, which is just another thing that's going wrong with this plan. Like, it was just the biggest meltdown almost of a plan ever. So let's finish off talking about the first half of this U-turn stuff here, and we'll leave the cheerleaders for a minute. But Alec, the rest of the backpackers, the timing thing. Did you like that with a U-turn thing? That just that seems a bit odd. And then the U-turn at the mat, which I believe is a first.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first with having the U-turn that close to the mat, which made sense for the fact that it was a double length one. But As far as like the whole like backpacking thing, number one, it was hilarious to have like Tanner and Josh just like sitting there for like an hour, the hour lead or whatever that they had gotten over everybody, and just like say we're so stupid and stuff. But I feel like I hated the fact that they had that like equalizer when it was like, if you looked at the thing, it was probably like what, like 6 in the evening or something like that. Like it wasn't even that late. Like if it had been like 10 at PM, okay, I understand having that equalizer or whatever, but it was just, I didn't really like that part, but it just brought the hilarity of the fact, and then it showed Tanner and Josh and Justin Diana coming to a truce and stuff. But I didn't like the equalizer, but it was just funny.
Colin, U-turn meltdown.
Well, I'll agree. I think part of the problem I had with this episode was that we're, at this point, 20 minutes left in the episode, and the teams are all evened out again, which... Mm-hmm. Again, this is where the episode would play better just as a 2-hour episode. But when I was watching it last week, I was really frustrated because we've had this storyline built up the whole episode, and then all of a sudden, well, you guys are all even again. So we're just starting from scratch. And that's something you do at the beginning of the episode. It's not something you really do at the end. Yeah. And I kind of felt like the tension of the episode just got like sucked right out of it at that point. And it was more just that it's not something we're used to. You know, The Amazing Race is it's not predictable the way that, you know, everything plays out, but the format is predictable and you get used to it. And it just, the tension builds every single minute. So it's just like really exciting by the time you get to the end, and 20 minutes to go. And all of a sudden, well, you guys are even. It's like starting all over again. I just want to watch this as 1 2-hour episode. The entire last 20 minutes just sort of dragged for me at this point. You know, we had a little bit with the whole U-turn drama that was entertaining, but again, it was something we haven't really seen before. It almost felt like Survivor playing The Amazing Race. There was just so much strategy that I couldn't even keep track of what was going on in the second half of this episode.
I'm all for strategy in The Amazing Race. I want more, but it is just... Like, this was an anomaly of an Amazing Race. It will definitely go down as a memorable one, whether or not for wrong reasons, but it was very unique. Kristen, what can you say on Matt U-turn and Backpacker U-turn twists added in to make it more convoluted?
I actually liked the equalizer just because it was that much more funny that the douche bros wasted their express pass.
Yeah.
So, like, because I was sitting on my couch, I'm literally laughing out loud when I see Justin and Diana grab the second time that was the same as theirs, because I think that Kelsey and Joey were, like, right behind them. But, so, like, they get the same time, and then you're just watching. I think that's when they went to do the croquet or whatever the hell sport that was. You're just, like, watching the douche bros watch Justin and Diana, and they're, like, you can tell they're, like, oh, look, they're going to get done before us. Like, they're just, like, I just love watching them get so mad about everything. And I don't know why, like, I don't know if it's because I'm such a big fan of Justin and Diana, or because I'm such a big fan of watching the douche bros fail at life. But I actually kind of liked the conclusion of, hey, look, here's the team that everyone was going to U-turn, and they just came in first place. That was not a bad end at all.
Yeah, that I really liked that. The episode where Justin and Diana should have went home was the episode where Justin and Diana were first place, which was a great ending.
Yeah, I like that in a way, but at the same time, just where the unevenness of this episode is that we could have told the exact same story and had it been just as effective with maybe 1 or 2 brief scenes in the beginning to set it up. But I swear every moment every team was on screen, they were talking about this U-turn. So it's almost like you're teasing us with something that never happened. I just think we could have had a little bit more development of other teams in the middle, which we're going to have more problems with in the next episode. I will find out.
We'll talk about
but there was just a better way to do this without focusing the entire episode on this U-turn.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe they just got some Survivor editors have joined The Amazing Race or something, because they were very excited about this whole strategy thing. What can you say about the end of the U-turn then, Jordan? Did you like the U-turn at the mat, or do you think that was a bad twist?
It's different, I guess. They were just trying something different. It's kind of weird to see. Oh, look, there's Phil. wait. I think one of the teams like got to the mat and I guess off camera, Phil had to tell go to the U-turn, and there's a U-turn right there, and like it's just so unusual, and it's like, I guess the decision is to U-turn somebody that is not there. Like there's no tasks in between, not even like transportation that you have to take to get to the pit stop after the U-turn. So it's like, if you're not U-turned, you're at the mat. So it was really weird.
Yeah.
And I guess you only use that U-turn if, like, even
You're
if
the
you,
cheerleaders.
yeah, like, yeah,
We'll get to that.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. It's
Makes
pointless
sense.
to use the U-turn once you're at the mat.
it makes
Especially
no
if you don't know it's a double leg and there's the mat. Well, I'm safe. Why would I burn bridges? Like, they didn't
Even
know
if
it was going to be a double leg. It's pointless.
Even if it's a single leg, even if it's a regular pit stop, it's not like, why would you use it?
Yeah,
just
you're
to get
wasting
team-
your
just
U-turn.
just to get a team that's behind you out, right?
Yeah,
It's really weird.
they did not think the logistics of that through. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't see the mat from where they were. I don't know, but that's ridiculous because it was right there.
Well, I think the cheerleaders just ran to the mat and
Yes.
bypassed the U-turn, and they had to go back.
So, just a quick fire question. I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement that we like Justin and Diana as a team, but would this episode have been made better if the strategy worked and Justin and Diana went home and they were just a memorable early boot team and we actually saw some successful strategy in the Amazing Race? Quick fire round table, Ali.
Yes.
Colin.
No. Well, maybe. I'm going to be indecisive and make this segment meaningless.
Kristen.
Yeah, I'm undecided too because I can't separate how much I like the team from just wanting strategy. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
Jordan.
Bad question.
All my questions are horrible.
Bad host.
Unprofessional.
Bad.
Reading off Wikipedia. Jordan.
Well, I think I'm preferring Justin and Diana to stay, just because this rivalry can keep going, and like if they get booted, in 8th place, or I think it's 8th place now, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, and like that's like unfair because they are the best team right now, and they only got eliminated because one team was mad at them and decided to U-turn them, and I don't think any of the other teams are really annoyed with them.
Well, yeah.
On that topic, just
Yeah.
to elaborate a little bit more, I think it would have been really good for the show because it's just the surprise that maybe that team that's such a big star team early on can go. It's a big surprise.
Yeah.
But just the fact that we still haven't gotten to know anybody. I mean, the only reason we even talk about James Earl and Denise is because they've had a couple of funny moments. We haven't even really seen anything with them, and they're probably the next closest to a star other than this rivalry. I'm just worried that at this point, this season is just becoming too predictable, that it's so obvious that Justin, Diana, and the Douche Bros are going to go all the way to the end. I'm almost in a way hoping, as much as I do like Justin, Diana, that maybe there is a change up. Like when the cyclists went in season 25, it was a big shock because, well, you pretty much expected it would come down to them and the dentist at the end.
That is one of the best Amazing Race episodes ever, by the way. Cyclist Meltdown.
And one of the saddest ever.
Bring back season 25. That was fun to talk about. Not that this isn't fun to talk about. Yeah.
We're all having a blast, can't you tell?
I agree that I do feel like these two teams will be in the final. So I think it would be good if one of them went before then, but at the same time, then is the final three going to be just like the most unmemorable teams ever or something? Like, is it going to be
think
season
Purple
6?
scientists.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started.
I think what would have made it even better is if the U-turn had actually worked, but Justin and Diana had stayed in the race. They got done quick enough, and that would have just blown up everything.
Oh, yeah, if they were like the second last team to check in or something. That
Yeah.
could be.
Or with the
Not
cheerleaders.
not to hijack the episode, here, Noah, but something else that I think is interesting is that this is almost playing out like if anybody listening to this has heard or knows of Survivor, I'm assuming they have. Survivor Blood versus Water. Survivor Blood versus Water was the season where the players just didn't seem to go along with the twists the show was feeding them. You know, they were, we're going to burn our immunity idol clues. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it somehow worked out for the better of that show. Whereas this year, it seems like with things like, we're going to use our express passes right away and have it be meaningless. We're not going to U-turn anybody. And then when we do U-turn, it's going to be somebody who's already on the opposite end of the spectrum. They've already left the country and you're U-turning them. There's a lot of just dispensing with the twists by this cast. And somehow I just don't think that it's playing out the way it did in Survivor, where I think a lot of people complain about the twists in Survivor, and they had a season where the players are like, let's forget the twists, let's just play a real game, and it worked out for the better. And I don't feel like it's really working for the better by having these people throw away the U-turn and throw away the express pass every week.
Yeah, it's just kind of making everyone, how do I put this nicely? Maybe I shouldn't put it nicely. It's just making everyone look dumb. And it's maybe not cringeworthy, but it's a bit frustrating, I would say. But I agree with that, though. Luckily, no one burnt their express pass, so that would be taking it to the next level. Logan, put it in the fire. Put it in the fire, Logan. Well, let's talk.
Surprised.
Yeah, we'll talk about the challenges. Let's wrap up the U-turn there. So in part 2, we saw Tiffany and Krista come in last. But they want to stay true to their word. Do not underestimate them, all right? Everyone underestimates them. Do not. They came in last. They thought, well, we should stick true to our word, so they U-turned Justin and Diana. Kristen, you talked about how you love the Douche Bro team because of everything that happened. I love the cheerleader team just because they're running their own race. They're like constantly in the back. They're just doing their own thing, U-turning people even though they're the last team to arrive. It's glorious. I love it. So, yeah, let's wrap up the U-turn. That happened with the cheerleaders. And then that was the only U-turn after all this business. That literally no one did it. No one went along with the twist. And they just kept on racing because why would they if they're checking into the mat and they think it's just going to be a regular leg? So we had one U-turn and it was the team that came in first that got U-turned. But I thought that was a hilarious scene, but then it was just so underwhelming that this was the conclusion to the U-turn storyline, despite it being hilarious. Jordan, let's wrap up our thoughts on the U-turn before we get to some challenges.
Yeah, it's just weird placing. Plus, it was on a double leg, right? I mean,
yeah.
What's the point? And the team, even if the team behind you is the team you're U-turning, they could stay in the race. They could come in last to the mat and be non-eliminated, non-elimination, and then catch up, and so they could stay in the race. So it's just, and the cheerleaders, give me a break. They wasted their U-turn, and I think that's the reason. They U-turn them, and I think that's the reason why they showed all that strategy talk. Otherwise they might not have shown it and just shown their, the Tanner, Josh, and Justin and Diana's pact, let's not U-turn each other, and that would have been that. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Tristan, did you like the ending to this? Justin and Diana got U-turned in the end, so I guess there was a conclusion to this U-turn then.
I don't care. I love the entire U-turn storyline from start to finish. Sue me, I thought it was hilarious.
Did you say sue you?
Sue me. Like, everyone disagrees. I don't get it. Like, I thought this was the best episode all season. I thought the whole thing was hilarious. Like, there was nothing bad about this.
I think people would
Except that
be
we
too
didn't see
scared
any
to
racing.
sue you.
So?
Yeah. I'm definitely not going to sue you. I feel like I would lose that because my lawyers would cower in fear of Kristen.
Brr.
Snug has attorneys.
Well, yeah. Well, the basement has an attorney. Yeah. Colin, the U-turn is over. Tiffany and Krista no longer can U-turn anymore.
Yeah. Sorry. You said it really well. I've been complaining about the cheerleaders for weeks, and my complaint has always been that I don't like them constantly talking about everybody's underestimating us, underestimating us. It made it so much more worthwhile to see them do something so incredibly, epically stupid. And I almost can visualize just what's going through their head moment, because I still don't know. Did they U-turn because they thought maybe we're not the last place team, or did they U-turn because they're like, well, I know that this is meaningless, but we don't want to break our word, you know? It makes them so much more an endearing team, and it's just, I don't think I'll ever get over how funny it was to see them U-turn as the last place team U-turn the first placers. That made it. It is. I've complained about this episode and just how drawn out this U-turn storyline was. But again, if they had just quickly set up, oh, we have this deal, and you have then one brief scene with, obviously Justin and Diana saying, we won't U-turn you. They don't do it. And then you just have the scene of the cheerleaders in the end. I think this is the most hilarious thing that's ever happened on The Amazing Race.
Alec, bring us back home on the U-turn storyline.
Can I just say that the cheerleaders made probably the dumbest move in Amazing Race history, and how hilarious it was. But I thought it was interesting. So the cheerleaders are probably the team you saw the least amount of strategy for Tanner and Josh with. Like, if it was the reporters or like Denise and James Earl, would have made a little bit more sense. But like, you didn't even like see them even talk to the cheerleaders about this, and then they're the ones who actually like go through with it. And like, I find it funny that the cheerleaders, which are probably the team that are going to most need to use the U-turn later on in this season, are the ones who wasted their U-turn trying to stay loyal, as I think Tiffany put it.
I so hope their departure comes from a double U-turn where they get U-turned and they can't U-turn another team.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's probably what it will be, because there would be no reason to show that scene if it wasn't some foreshadowing later on.
Well, it was hilarious. So.
It was freaking hilarious. That's true.
Cool. Well, I've got one question because I didn't pay enough attention. So Denise and James L get the express pass. Did they have to use it this leg?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad, because then that would be another team to add into the stupid pot.
They came in first.
Just the fact, though, that we're having to ask that question shows the show isn't doing its job in making these teams seem intelligent. Like, we've been saying this ever since the preview episode. It's not really a problem with these teams. It's just CBS is not selling these teams to us, and it's kind of frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the majority of the teams that we pretty much know nothing about. Let's talk about some of the challenges. So in episode 1, we had that plane, the Little Nelly flying plane, across the falls, and they had to look for the route marker. And then we also had where they had to either play croquet or they had to polish a giraffe. So let's just talk about those challenges quickly before we talk about the second one. And then we also had a bit of drama, like I think it was the track stars were driven to the wrong country or something like that. And there was a bit of drama going on there, but that was pretty much the challenges. We had people yelling at each other for not painting the giraffe quick enough, funny croquet costumes that they had to wear. So let's just quickly talk about the episode 1 challenges then, Alec.
Oh, I definitely feel that this croquet and giraffe one was probably better than the carriage and horse one or whatever that they had, like the episode
I would
before.
agree with that, yes.
Yeah, like, number one, both of them actually required at least a little bit of skill.
Yeah.
but like definitely for sure, like they still weren't up to par. Like the second episode by far had better challenges. But like, and then the roadblock, like we've seen that challenge so many times that it's starting to get boring as a roadblock, and so yeah, like wasn't the greatest challenge, but still a step up of what they have had. So
I'd agree that it wasn't the greatest, but it was a step up. What do you think, Colin?
We really had two challenges here: the croquet and then watching paint dry.
yes.
And I think there's again something to the fact that I don't know why I'm the only one who wasn't liking this episode, because I found that watching paint dry was more exciting than the croquet in this episode, or as James Earl called it, croquette.
Yes.
That's a good way of putting it. It literally was watching paint dry. Jordan, episode 1 challenges, or episode 4 challenges, if you're being technical.
Yeah, straightforward roadblock. I think just the only complication was finding, getting to the bridge, and getting to the bridge that the flag was on, because like the track stars went to the wrong country, and then the detour. I think the croquet was probably the easier one. I'm skeptical of any task where the person says take your time, which is what the person said at the giraffe one, the polishing with tar or whatever. So I like the croquet one. If I were a racer, I would go to the croquet.
And Crystal.
The whatever the first challenge thing is called was really boring because no one pulled a Haley or anything. Because I couldn't really tell what they were looking for, but apparently everyone found it, and it wasn't that complicated, unless you were the track stars. And then, but there was also a moment that I don't know if it's because I don't pay that much attention to these shows or if I haven't seen old seasons or what, but I just want to mention that there's like, I'm liking the segments. There's like these segments that feel different where like they had Justin and Joey, I guess, kind of like just sitting on a bench waiting for their partners to finish the task. And they were having like a strategic conversation, and like Justin's kind of almost giving a confessional to the camera. But Joey's still sitting next to him.
Yeah.
Like I actually really liked that. Like I thought it was I don't know if we really see that. Like if I'm just missing something,
really.
but I thought
That's
that was
newer.
really interesting for some reason. I just thought it was like kind of we got more than just people running around. We kind of got to actually see some of the little bit of the in between conversations. And then the detour, I think that I liked the just little like one-liners, or like I mentioned before, the douche bros like only watching the other team do it because they were worse at it, and like Denise being like, oh, hell yeah, I can play croquet because my daddy made us all get up off the couch and get outside and play all day. And like, it was just like fun. I don't know. I thought it was really cute. And even the paint one, when the guy came over and was like, you're 90% done. The like one cheerleader was like screaming at him, but what's the 10%? What's the 10%? Tell us. Like, I don't know. I just found everything amusing about this episode. So I don't know if I was just like high, but that's
Wouldn't you remember?
I love that we got Kristen and Denise impersonation just there.
Do they even have Southern accents?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about them.
I don't
so who
even
knows?
know.
I wouldn't say we never get those confessionals. Like sometimes there's a partner doing a roadblock and someone will just in the middle of the scene say, oh, they're taking ages. But yeah, it is kind of rare to have it like you talked about. Let's jump into episode 2 then, or episode 5 if you're being technical, where we obviously talked about the cheerleaders doing the thing. And then this was like a double episode, so you'd have to wonder, like, if one of the teams did get U-turned, would we be watching episode 1, like croquet, on this episode 2 thing. Like if they had to do the double U-turn, like the logistics of it just seems bizarre. But anyway, the first challenge was the first challenge. It was a switchback, but I don't think they even called it a switchback, did they? Which is weird because they normally do.
Yeah, it was
They had
Flashback
flat,
Friday.
hashtag.
Oh
Flashback
yeah, that was
Friday.
cringeworthy. Yeah, this is second chance challenges. They're really CBS loving the second chance. Will we get Amazing Race second chance? Probably not. I guess it's cool that it's the first challenge, but at the same time, the first challenge is not that exciting. Colin, did you like this? Did you remember the first challenge? Was it cool they did this or whatever?
I haven't seen season 1 in so long. I actually don't think I've seen episode 1 of The Amazing Race since maybe the first time it aired. I've seen most of the rest of the season when I caught it on TV a few years ago. But yeah, I had no recollection of this. I think it's just one thing they are doing well this season is they're showing a lot of these good uses of the location. So we had the Little Nelly helicopter last week over the canyon, and then this one, the whatever you would call it, bungee jumping, swinging.
I like Africa.
It looks good. Yeah, they always have a lot to do, and this time they really did well with that. That's why I'm saying I actually like the second part of the episode better. Not because I think the challenges are better. I think part of the problem with this entire episode is that episode 2 or second half of this leg, everything was turn-based. Like I swear, every challenge was, okay, well, you're the next one in line, you can do this. So it left very little room for any team to overtake anybody else. The few moments where we did have that, though, that's where the excitement was. So the only thing I really enjoyed about seeing this challenge over again was just how hilarious some of these faces look when they're swinging, because they had the camera right in their face. So I'd love to get some screen caps of that.
I wanted to feel there going, and we've got some amazing races. And off to the side, you see that one guy from season 1 that no one knows who it is, just standing there, like from season 25. Kristen, Switchback. Have you ever seen season 1, Flashback Friday?
Nope. But the challenge was pretty boring, and you couldn't have paid me to do that. So, good on them.
Well, you're really loving the money. Like you're suing people. You've got an obsession with money, Kristen, and doing southern accents. You should watch season 1. It's a good one. Alec, I know.
Guidos.
Yeah.
They would have been the guys you should see in this.
Who? Guidos, yeah.
The Guidos.
Yeah, that would have been
The
cool.
Guidos.
I actually think a second chance Amazing Race season, returning to countries they've been to with challenges, would be cool. But anyway, Ali, you've seen season 1. Did you like that they did this challenge, or is it a boring challenge anyway?
They always seem to do one of these thrill-seeking challenges, whether it's skydiving or bungee jumping or something like that. I will say it was entertainment just to see, like, Josh, out of all people, like, be the scaredest person to jump off of it stuff. But I think it was, I can't remember if it was like Logan or something, not Logan, Chris, something where the guys guide's like, you ready? And he's like, no, and the guy just like shoves him off and he's like, okay.
That was funny.
It's freaking hilarious and stuff. And like, but it was just a challenge, like, one where you couldn't really overtake anyone. The only time that people got overtaken was when Shack Attack and Logan and Chris made the stupid mistake of thinking the roadblock was in some other city or whatever, and like not just like 10 feet away, like
we'll get
driving in a circle.
Oh yeah, I know we'll get to that.
Yeah, who's the dumber team out of those two then? But yeah, we'll touch on that.
I think we'll get to that. But yeah, I thought it was just more for the hilarious factor. Like, once again, Tanner and Josh bringing hilarity for the fact that these are like the two macho men, and the one thing they can't do is just jump off something. Like, it was a good, decent challenge.
I do love that team. Like, as I said a few episodes ago, douche bro is not necessarily meant to be an offense. It's meant to be more, that high school jockey type team that are really cocky. And then I do love that then that is the team that's the scared of heights team. Because normally those teams are the ones that are like doing all this thrill-seeking type stuff. So that's another funny thing to add into the Tanner and Josh kind of fail basket. But I'm with you, Kristen, and you wouldn't pay me to do this. I would hate something like this. Jordan, have you seen season 1, and did you like this challenge?
I saw, like, I've been rewatching the seasons, or like I haven't seen most of the seasons.
So watching the season.
So yeah, watching basically. But I did see the first, I don't know, 6 or 7 out of the first 10 or so when they aired. I did watch the first episode. I don't know, about a year ago or so, and I think it was in the first season. It was just like they start out with a bang. Where here's a death-defying task, and now it's like you see them all the time, and they've already had 2 or 3 of these same type of tasks on this season, and like they do this free fall, and it's a scary task, but they're used to it already. It's already the fifth leg. So, but really good anger management for Chris. Instant cure for like 5 minutes.
We'll touch on Logan and Chris in a minute. Let's just talk about the rest of the challenges, then we'll talk about some of the other little stuff that happened. Well, then the detour was crocodile cage diving, or the canoeing. Canoeing. I watched the episode. So very thrilling 2 detours, weren't they? And was that the last? And then they had to go through the game lodge and look for the
skull. Yeah.
The skull, which was kind of the last thing, which I guess was cool because there was little lions there. But other than that, it was just people walking. Yeah, Colin, do you want to talk about those 2 or 3 challenges? Then we'll talk about some stuff like express passes and teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, this was a weird one. Like I said, my complaint about this episode is that so many of these challenges were all turn-based. The only one that really wasn't was the canoeing one, and it's strange that the 2 teams that did it finished so close to the front of the pack, so maybe there wasn't a lot to it. It seemed to me like that one was way more complicated than everything else on this episode. I thought the crocodile one looked fantastic on camera. I just didn't think there was a lot of drama in 6 teams waiting in line one after the other, with the exception of Logan and Chris coming in, where at first I was kind of looking at him as like he was an idiot. We'll probably talk a little bit more about them, but where he was like, well, let's switch, and I'm thinking, like, what kind of idiot is he? But then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, well, if you are last in line, and there was at least 4 teams there at that point, and that it's turn-based, so unless somebody bails halfway through saying, I can't take the fear of being in this cage, perfectly safe from these crocodiles, there's no way anybody is overtaking anybody, I might just consider switching too. So that was pretty much the only real drama of this section of the race, other than the track stars who finally did something on this race, but fortunately it wasn't for the better. Going through the loop once and not even picking up on the clue that was right there. Yeah, I mean, everything looked good on camera this week, so I think that was the bonus of this episode, but it was just kind of the exact same standings from beginning to end, other than just a few little mishaps.
I love when the cheerleaders let go of their feeding stick things and the crocodiles were like eating them away from it. That was hilarious. Jordan, these 3 challenges to end out episode 5.
Yeah, I think the crocodile one would have been easier for me anyway. The paddling just seemed to be taxing, and the douche bros were having trouble, and I would have had trouble with it. So just standing in a cage and feeding whatever meat to crocodiles, I think was the easier one. And I think the walking with the game lions, like the track stars, didn't read the clue. They just went right to the last task. And
oh yeah, that's right.
They didn't even No, they had to get the skull. It was like ridiculous, and it was it wasn't the best television. I'll agree with that, but yeah, and only two groups, I think, chose to do the paddling one. Right? It wasn't like it was a big race to get across the river.
Yeah.
And like everybody at the game lions were just slow, and other than the track stars, nobody really passed anybody. So it wasn't the best TV.
Yeah, they, as Colin said, they were decent looking, but they weren't absolutely thrilling.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if more teams had done the paddling, but I think the Crocs was the way to go.
Or make it like a paddling race or something added to it. I don't know. Alec, what did you think of the 3 challenges? And there's another one which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I definitely feel these were the best challenges just for the look of them. Like, none of the challenges have been like over amazing or anything like that at this season. The crocodile one is definitely easier, but once again, I think that was this one's super far away, this one's super close, whatever type thing like we normally get with these. Yeah. But as far as the canoeing, it brought up one of the most hilarious moments of the whole episode with Tanner and Josh like not knowing how to row a canoe, and like Justin and Diana like, we're perfect at this. Like I like used to like teach people to ride canoes, and like she like was on the like high school rowing team or whatever. It's just like they're just like in sync like the whole time, and you have Tanner and Josh like, okay, go to the left or whatever. Like you like Josh is paddling.
Tanner and Josh the other last
like,
to come in? Weren't they the last to come in on that first ever challenge? That rowing? Were Tanner and Josh the last team in that rowing challenge in episode 1?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
but
they were fighting it out with Justin and Diana.
Yeah, the boat broke, as I say that in quotations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hilarious that they
that was a paddle boat with like their feet compared to like an actual rowing boat like this one was though.
I think they just suck at most things, really. Although we can't really say that because they have been at the top a lot of times, so that's probably a bit unfair on them. Kristen, do you have anything insightful to add on the challenge?
I guess I don't even notice sometimes when the order doesn't change because there's like something else amusing happening, like where, like how Alec mentioned, I loved watching Justin and Diana paddling perfectly, and it's like, oh, I'm the light girl, you can just lift me right up into the tree, and then Tanner and Josh are like spinning in the water like they can't do anything, and then he's like, oh shit, I can't lift you, this is harder than I thought. Like everything they do turns into a nightmare, and then they still like finish at the front of the pack. But it's amusing. And then the same thing with Logan and Chris, they made the crocodile thing interesting. They had like multiple like I think that every lead out to a commercial was Chris saying like which one's what? Chris saying we're losing this game, we're done. Like I think every single time they cut to a commercial that was what was happening. And they're the worst, but at least there was something to add besides just the challenge. So like I find those things to be those things help the episode when the challenges aren't that exciting. And then I don't know, the animal thing wasn't that exciting, and the track stars screwed themselves over, and that was really sad.
Let's talk about the Express Pass. So it got given to Denise and James L, and I'm glad you guys told me that had to be used this late, because that would have been idiotic of them if it didn't. I don't like how they did that. Like Tanner and Josh have to use it within the early portion of the race, and then they have to give it up, and that has to be used again. I don't really like that. But anyway, so they used it, which led to them getting ahead and winning the leg. No surprises there, really, although it was a close one. Colin, have you got anything? We'll just briefly talk about this because we've still got a few things to bring up, but anything to mention on the Express Pass? It's out of the race now. It's all equal footing.
It just seems weird to me that the producers really worked hard to put all of these twists in this season when it's almost like they set it up to be wasted, by having the deadline for when you can use it this early in the race, and then to say the next team has to use it right away. I mean, you're pretty much guaranteeing it's going to be thrown away. And the whole thing with the U-turn, it was the same thing with the U-turn. I mean, you have the U-turn or the first time the express pass is used, and then they're all waiting around, they're evened out again, and then you have the U-turn, and they're all evened out again. It's just, I just don't understand production-wise how this was all put together. And I'm glad that we know that now, because I don't think it was that clearly stated on the show, because I was thinking that Denise and James Earl were just as dumb as Tanner and Josh. But I like that, again, kind of like I'm saying, that it seems like the cast this season just wants to be done with these twists, because there's a lot of, well, at least the express pass is out of there now. We don't have to worry about it anymore, which maybe the race gets better now that there's not so many twists out there just to complicate things.
Probably not. That's maybe a bit too cynical, but let's hope. Kristen?
I'm kind of glad that it's just done and we don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, Alec?
I feel that the productions, they didn't think it through as well as they could have, but I feel like getting rid of the express pass this early also just makes it so then like these teams that have the express pass don't become such a huge target later on and stuff like that. So like, Tanner and Josh don't become this like huge target when there's only 6 people left, and they get this, they could be like the worst team on that leg or whatever, and then still finish first because of the express pass and stuff. Like, it's getting it out when there's still like 8 teams left, I feel was actually kind of a smart decision, because then you actually have like the people who race the race the best at the end, and not somebody who does really crappy and then uses the express pass to get by the one leg that they probably would have been eliminated in. And I think it will make it more exciting, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, but in a way, I kind of disagree with that, because I almost like it when the bad teams get ahead. What's Jared's famous quote? Like, it takes a special team to suck and still be awesome.
Yeah.
Like, only
That's
because
Tanner and
then,
Josh for you.
yeah, that's a good point. Only because then it maybe breaks it up a bit, because if the best teams were always at the end, then it comes a bit predictable. But I see what you're saying, because then we make sure that people like the scientists don't win. Hello, the scientists, if you're listening. Jordan, anything to add on the Express Pass?
Just glad it's done, I guess. Interesting. No, maybe not too interesting that they gave it to Denise and James Earl. I guess just don't make waves with other teams in the race.
Well, did you not think it was going to be Kelsey and Joey? That was kind of a bit of a surprise.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Just the way the editing seemed, it seemed like they might go to. Well, what do you think on that, Colin?
Well, I said this 2 weeks ago that I could not even recognize Kelsey and Joey despite knowing they were on the race and watching them. This is not a joke. I want to make that clear to everybody. When they showed up on screen in this episode, I immediately thought, who is this? Like, I still cannot recognize either of them.
Season 1 or something.
It's like 4 or 5 episodes in. It's ridiculous that I still don't even have I could recognize anybody else from the season. They show up, I'm like, I have no clue who they are.
Yeah. Alec, what did you think they would go to Kelsey and Joey, the Express Bar?
I feel that the way the editors gave it, they were trying to make it like more of a swerve that it went to James Earl and Denise. I feel that that they had just shown the things with Kelsey and Joey, because maybe that'll come on like with showing the douche bros talking to Kelsey and Joey about pretty much most of the strategy they showed was with Kelsey and Joey, and it was like maybe that'll come on later on in the race, maybe like the next double U-turn or something like that. I don't know, but as far as Kelsey and Joey, I feel they're actually like the dark horse to win this season now, because they're actually showing like some strategy with that team. So
I could see them winning.
I definitely can.
I could see them winning and me being like, who's that extra that just ran across the finish line?
Yeah, Colin's like, is that like Logan and Chris? What? No.
Yeah.
Like the Monica Padilla of the season.
Ooh, harsh but true. All right, so let's talk about a few of the teams that were notable this episode. So early on in the race, Shack Attack, they went in the wrong direction, which was dumb. And then perhaps even dumber was the fact that Logan and Chris followed them and put them in behind. Everything was going wrong. I think Logan and Chris are the notable team here. the first time I've really seen anything out of them, and probably because they were fighting, and that's the only reason we saw them. It's just weird because we saw so much, but then I feel like we still don't really know anything about them other than they fight a lot. I'm not sure if we're supposed to be rooting for one of them and not the other one, or what, or like they're switching, they're doing things wrong, but they still survived, which was kind of good. I think it would be better if they survived and they could at least expand on this story a bit rather than it just being a one-off thing and, oh, they're gone. But yeah, it's the first time we've ever really seen anything from Logan and Chris Christian.
Well, congrats to Rick on no longer being my least favorite racer because
What?
Chris exists.
Rick was your least favorite racer?
Did you not listen to the episode I was on? Thank you for listening to your own podcast.
I listened,
Bye.
but I forgot.
I talked for a very long time about how much I hated
Rick's awesome.
that team. No, he's the worst. But he's the second worst because Chris is now the official worst.
Is Chris the man or the woman?
Chris
The
They
is
guy.
both got
Man.
unisex names.
Yeah, they both do.
All right. Why do you hate Chris?
Because he just freaks out about everything, and it's so frustrating to watch. Like, he was going nuts during, like, the first challenge, and it's like, how many more hours are they still racing? Like, chill the fuck out. And I feel like she feeds off of his insanity. Like, I don't think she's ever just, like, screaming. I think that she starts getting angry when he starts getting angry, and I just can't deal with them, and so that means I'm probably gonna win. So
I would probably be like Chris, just looking out over every little thing on the race.
that
But
makes sense because I hate you too. So
touche.
I kind of have the opposite reaction to them that Kristen has, though.
Ooh, all right.
I don't really love. I don't love either of them, but I kind of feel bad for Chris more than anything else because I know a guy who's a lot like Chris, he's always really nervous about everything, always kind of panicky, but he has good intentions, and that's the way I kind of see Chris. That he's trying really hard. He's one of those people who doesn't handle stress well. And between the two of them, I think that he definitely freaks out more. And I do agree with what Kristen said that it's really just, pushing her buttons, but she's kind of always yelling at him like he's her 7-year-old son, and I just feel bad for the guy because he's clearly under enough stress just in general everyday life. He doesn't need to be yelled at by his girlfriend on national television. I feel so bad for him.
Yeah, well, you can feel even more bad because he was tweeting last week how he's only got 3 fans, and clearly Kristen is not one of those 3. But maybe Colin,
I'm gonna follow him and tell him I'm a sympathetic follower. I have pity on him.
He's got pity fans. So we've got one hate Chris. We've got one feel a bit bad for Chris. Jordan, where do you land on the Logan and Chris spectrum?
Are they dating, Logan and Chris?
Well, so apparently.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, just Chris, just being so negative. Like, I guess it just gives the editors something to go to break on. But their move of following Jack Attack just awful. And Jack Attack had a really good attitude about it. I guess maybe just because they were ahead of Logan and Chris. So I mean, Chris was awful. Like again, like going to the Crocs task. Like, is the move like if everybody's going to one detour, is the move to go to the other detour?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, that in most situations it wouldn't be, but because this is turn-based and you're going to be last of those 4 teams, you at least can take a chance. You're going to be last of those 4. I would think if they're close enough, switching might be a good idea in this one.
Yeah, I can see both sides. Is that it on Logan and Chris? You're kind of iffy on them?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, they just didn't get any airtime until these 2 episodes. So this is really the first that we're seeing of Chris, and Logan just seems to be a calming person. That's really her role. Chris is really the star of this team.
I want to see them on the job when they're trying to chase after celebrities. They just yell at each other all the time. Maybe there's a reality show in that. Alec, bring us home on Logan and Chris. We've got one one hate, one feel sorry. Where do you fall?
So, as far as Logan and Chris, finally we have a team that's actually going to be like decently entertaining. Like they actually brought some entertainment outside of like the Tanner and Josh and Justin to Diana. But at the same time, like number one, I think Chris's whole like over the top stress thing was brought on by Logan, because I think at the roadblock after they had followed Shack Attack and stuff, and they come back, she's the one who's like, oh, why'd you say we had to follow them or whatever? Now we're in last or whatever. And I feel he was just felt a little bit he felt bad that he had disappointed his girlfriend and stuff. Plus they're in like that, they must be in that like second phase of their relationship where they fight all the time. Like, you know, we all have those phases. And so, but I'm kind of in the I like that they hopefully this continues. It's kind of previewed that it was going to continue this whole fighting thing. I'm just hoping they make to the final 5 to keep this like season at least interesting or something like that, even though they didn't bring anything to the table beforehand. So I'm kind of with Kristen that I hate Chris and stuff like that, but I kind of enjoy it for the fact that they bring entertainment, I guess you could say. Kind of like Abby Marie. I don't like Abby Marie, but I enjoy her entertainment. Like, that's my thing.
And they're cheapskates, too, with charities.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was
we
bad.
didn't touch on that, but yeah, like, how much...
He has a big donation, like
I put in a
50%
20.
of our...
Did a big donation.
Oh, that was awkward. That was really awkward to watch. I feel every other team put everything in. Look at these starving children.
Like, Shack Attack was at the mat at the time too. Like that was the best part. Like Shack Attack's like watching them. Like we could have put in foot down. Yeah, about 150.
I'm kind of in the middle of everyone. Like I'm kind of liking that they're at least showing up, and there's another team outside of the Tanner and Josh and Justin and Diana. I don't know if I like the fighting all the time. Like, I'd rather if maybe we saw them more and they fought every now and then, but not their entire storyline being this is the fighting team, because fighting just gets a bit old to watch. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they bring, I guess. Let's talk about one final team before we wrap this up. And pretty much, we didn't talk about it, but you can touch on it now too. They had to do a slow race for the pit stop with bowls of fruit on their head, which I love, because it's kind of the twist of racing to the pit stop where they're literally walking and one of these teams is going to be eliminated. It's kind of obvious the track stars would go, but I still think it made for a good twist. It would have been better if we actually saw on camera the final 2 teams, like both in shot close to the pit stop with these bowls of fruit on their head, but it was still pretty cool. I thought a bit of a twist. But the track stars, they're gone. They didn't turn out to be the new cyclists or the new scientists or anything like that. They're just gone. Can't say I'm too upset. I'm sure they're fine, but we didn't see them in the season other than when they screwed up, pretty much. A common thread in this season of not seeing the teams. I'm sure they're fine, but Colin, you were talking them up a lot pre-season. What are your quick final thoughts on Jasmine and Danielle? I think that's it, no?
This really is Dana and Amanda from The Amazing Race Canada all over again.
Yeah.
I think it was my preseason pick to win. It was a team I was excited about. It's just we didn't get to see anything
voting
out of them.
for Jasmine and Danielle for free gas.
That's right. Free gas for life for Jasmine and Danielle.
That's the upside.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, again, I don't want to blame any of these teams because I honestly don't think that we're not getting the best out of these people. I just think it's not being aired because there's so much going on with this feud. And maybe they are trying some new things this season with the editing, and some things are working, some aren't. But I wish that the early teams are always very memorable on The Amazing Race. That's the one good thing about The Amazing Race, is because this isn't Survivor where if somebody gets voted out, the attention is on who was able to get rid of them. This is The Amazing Race. If somebody gets voted out, it's all about them. And we're having all these teams leaving, and we're not even having a proper story told. And I loved the idea of the whole fruit baskets on their head. And I was excited because I thought, well, this is finally something that can shake things up. But it was so confusing because I swear we saw Jasmine and Danielle passing other teams, and then when they checked in, everybody was gone. I didn't understand it at all. CBS is really disappointing this year with how they're choosing to promote 2 or 3 teams and then just leave everybody else out.
Does that extend to other shows as well? Perhaps, yes. Kristen, I have never been on an episode of this season with you. Did you like the track stars?
I like them. We just didn't get to see enough from them, and so we don't really know their full potential. It kind of sucks that we kind of even saw it foreshadowed. It was they were the team that didn't screw up like Chris and Logan and Track Attack, and then they ended up screwing up at the end and losing. I kind of enjoyed the walk to the mat, but I did notice the exact same thing as Colin, where I was super confused how it looked like they weren't, even though we kind of knew they were going to be out, it didn't look like they were going to be out based on the editing of the actual race, and then they were, and I was confused.
Alec, track stars, they're gone.
I'm kind of with Colin for the fact that these were my preseason picks to win. I thought it was very interesting that right before, when they almost went to the pit stop with Phil, right before they even did the lion thing, they had the hashtag read your clue, and then they forgot to read the clue again and stuff. Mm-hmm. I thought that was actually pretty decent editing. I will say that. They foreshadowed something with something that already happened. I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm sad to see them go. They had the potential to be this super entertaining team, but they never were shown as it. The only teams of these first 4 eliminated that they actually showed were TMZ and Ernest and Jen, and so these track stars didn't get the edit that they could have, but it's because they're that early. I'm sad to see them go, but hopefully the season picks up because of it. So.
And finally, Jordan, the track stars.
Yeah, I think they were a little underwhelming. I kind of expected. I thought they were a letdown, and I thought maybe they could be a cyclist sort of team, maybe get up there that top 4 or 5. But yeah, I think the editing with the end, they were probably minutes away from the other 2 teams, and they just didn't show them in the same picture because they weren't there, probably.
Well, that's it for Jasmine and Danielle. We'll quickly run through the predictions. Colin, bad news for you. Jasmine and Danielle were your number 1 pick to win this season, which you're in company because Monica Padilla went out this week, and I lose on that end too. So it's a bad week for both of us. Kristen, your 3rd place team, so bad for you too. Maybe you should use a random generator again. Rossi, 3rd place team. Rossi, maybe you should stop copying Kristen. Jared, 2nd place team. Jared, maybe you should use your made up things again. Where have I put them? 6th! Yay, I win, even though I'm still a bit off, but still, I get the point for this week because I'm the only one to not put them in the top 3. And Alec and Jordan, obviously, you weren't with us before when we did this episode. But that's it for the cyclists. Did I just call them the cyclists? The track stars?
Oh, no!
We'll be back hopefully next week for episode 6. We're still in Africa. We've got the bungee jump challenge, I believe. No time for Natural Born Lady Hustler this week because she has no new tweets. And that's it, we're done. This big double episode, very notable episode, at least the first one anyway. Kristen, thanks for showing up. Hopefully you get your 12 hours of sleep and you get to watch your football game.
Nope.
Okay. Don't know what she's referring to there, but Jordan, thanks for showing up on your first Amazing Race episode.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Alex, same goes to you. I think this is your third one. Thanks for joining.
It's my third one. You weren't there for one of them, so thanks.
Yeah, I just forgotten everything that happened in it.
You really don't listen to the show, do you?
I don't even watch The Amazing Race. I just looked on the Wikipedia.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And I'll chat to you in about 6 hours or so. Not that that matters by the time anyone's listening to this.
Yeah, I'll have half as much sleep as Kristen, and I'm wide awake for Double Oz 7, also available on iTunes.
Not that anyone uses iTunes, but anyway, enjoy. Alright, as Colin said, we're on iTunes. Survivor Oz is where you find the Amazing Race episodes. If you can even download the episodes, we've been having issues for like 6 months. And you can leave us a comment on the website, survivaroz.com. We'd love to read them. And you can send us a Facebook or a tweet, or I think that's all that we've got. And I'm sure we'll read them, and Ben will probably respond with some angry response to you, no matter what you say, if it's kind or not. But anyway, hello Ben, if you're not listening. I've been Noah, and we'll be back for episode 6 of The Amazing Race, season 27. We'll speak to you next time on The Plane. Goodbye.